1-point game, final seconds. Bulls look for the win. DeRozan to win it. Go! DeMar DeRozan delivers!
New York, stand up!
The WNBA is so important.
Okay, Tom. God bless. Good night.
This is nothing but that sports talk.
What a crazy year 2021 has been. As I welcome you to this episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk, Rafique Louison Knox Louison on hand. And yeah, we saw a lot of stuff go down in the year 2021. But I want to ask you, what are your favorite sports moments that you love to watch this year?
That's a tough question. I thought it was amazing on the NBA front to see Chris Paul finally make it to the NBA Finals. That was great. And also the Suns also to turn around their organization because they've been bad for so long. Also watching Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton ascend to that next level. And then, of course, watching Giannis win a championship. He has such a great NBA story. He has such a great sports story. So it was great to see him, finally reach that mountaintop. He's had the back-to-back MVPs. And he kind of solidified and punched his ticket as an all-time great by winning a championship. So that was a great moment, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking with the NBA, the fact that the Phoenix Suns were able to give LeBron his very first NBA first-round series loss. You sweep the Denver Nuggets. You defeated the Los Angeles Clippers, which is highlighted by one of the most iconic alley-oop dunks that you'll ever see in a game, too. And then in the finals, he became a victim of an iconic alley-oop in Game 5 of the Nuggets game. Giannis drops a 50-piece. That whole entire NBA season in 2021 was just incredible to watch. I mean, yeah, it sucks LeBron had to lose in the first round, but he's gotten out of the first round so many times. So it's about time he took a first round L at some point in his career. There's no such thing as a good NBA career without a first round exit. But getting back to the Phoenix Suns, well, yeah, it's also nice that just like them, the Phoenix Mercury were in the NBA Finals around the same year. So, I mean, they both
WNBA
lost,
Finals.
But you know what? It just goes to show how competitive the win a basketball championship is under any level.
Yeah, I agree. To kind of piggyback on the Mercury, they've had more success than the Suns, obviously, but it was good that both of those franchises within that city were both able to reach the finals of their respective leagues. So it was really good. It was really good.
Yeah, very entertaining. And we also saw a lot of good plays. And I even just managed to watch DeMar DeRozan and the Chicago Bulls 2021 calendar year with a crazy shot of the one leg against the Indiana Pacers earlier today. And it's just, that's the reason why I put that highlight off the show, because that caps off what was, like, again, a crazy year of basketball in the pros. Like another thing we need to talk about is DeMar DeRozan coming to the Chicago Bulls. I mean, yeah, he made the San Antonio Spurs an above-average team last year, but when he signed with Chicago, he turned them into a team that could be a problem in the Eastern Conference in 2022. What do you say?
Honestly, I've always been a big fan of DeMar DeRozan. I've always thought he's a really good player who he has his limitations, and I think sometimes he was not asked. I think sometimes the expectations were for him to do things that were outside of his skill set, but he's always been an effective player. He's always been a good player. I mean, kudos to Chicago for rolling the dice and going out and getting a player like him. It's easy for them to sit on the roster they had and said, we don't want to add anyone alongside Zach LaVine, but they were like, no, let's get the best player available. They got the best player available. And since then, they've kind of turned around the ship that is the Chicago Bulls, which has been notoriously bad for quite some time now. They look really strong. They also picked up Lonzo. Lonzo is great for them defensively because Zach LaVine is not a particularly great perimeter defender, but Lonzo's there to pick up the slack in that department. I think they have a really good team. Skipping my mind, Vucevic at center. He's been underrated for a long time. And I think, like you said, the addition of DeMar DeRozan just really put them over the top from being a bottom tier Eastern Conference team to at least middle of the pack, potentially top team in the Eastern Conference. We'll see what 2022 holds for them in terms of they can keep that status that they have right now. I think they're in the top 4, right?
They're number 1 in the Eastern Conference. They own the tiebreak over Brooklyn because they won the first 2 games against them. And as we talked about earlier, with the Chicago Bulls is one of those teams that Brooklyn's going to have to watch out for if they run into them in the playoffs and later in the regular season, I should say. But stay with the Chicago Bulls. They had the potential to win the championship. Well, maybe not this year because, you got a lot of heavyweights to get through, like Milwaukee or Brooklyn, Cavaliers that were expected to be proved, but they might tumble a little bit. I mean, they just lost Ricky Rubio, due to a season-ending injury, and Colin Sexton, two talented guards that are capable of shooting the ball well in their own rights. So yeah, Chicago, they might make some noises in 2022.
Yeah, it's kind of it's unfortunate what happened to Cleveland. They finally got some talent together. They're finally playing well. They've got a really well-structured team. And then they lose their number one guard in Colin Sexton, and then they lose their number 3 guard in Ricky Rubio. They also lost Evan Mobley, who's a rookie, for a spell. I think Jared Allen is in health and safety protocol. So they're going through this rough patch. I hope they're able to turn it around and keep their status as a playoff team in the Eastern Conference, just because they've been such a great story. Going on to Brooklyn, I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan. They haven't beaten anybody. They've actually lost to every team who's good. So that's a really disturbing statistic and sign. They're beating bad teams and they're losing to good teams. You don't win championships losing to good teams. You got to beat somebody at some point in time. And they haven't shown the ability to do that. They've kind of gotten embarrassed or ran off the court anytime they've had to play a good team. They're bringing back Kyrie, which is interesting. It's kind of left to be seen how effective that's going to be, because he's only going to be playing road games, and you got to win championships with road games and home games. It's not just one or the other. It's a combination of both. So basically they have to hope that they finish with the number 1 seed or a top seed in the Eastern Conference, so they can always have a home court advantage, which isn't even a home court advantage because your third best player is not going to play those games. It's a bit of a disaster in Brooklyn right now.
Yeah, a lot of people want to get hyped about the fact. I mean, I keep on getting hyped with the fact that they're number 1 or in this case the top 2 team in the Eastern Conference. But all the media, including us. I mean, we talked about this a lot off the air. We have to think about defeating the other elite teams in the NBA as well. And I guess you want to count the win on Christmas Day as elite win, but obviously the Lakers.
It's not, because the Lakers aren't an elite team and they don't have a winning record.
Are below average. Philadelphia, they're above average,
and they lost to them.
But they lost to them too, and they've hit this rough patch of healthy safety protocols that kept all the top 3 stars as well as the role players out. I mean, it's early in the season. I'm at least glad that
it's not early in the season.
I mean, well, we're about to be in
They're
January.
close to the halfway point. Yeah,
we're about to be in January, so eventually the Nets are going to get together and win some games against the top tier teams in the Eastern Conference. I mean, they have the best record in the NBA on the road, only losing 3 times. So eventually they're going to.
Yeah, but those 3 times are all to good teams, I bet, right? Like, that's the problem.
Well, one of them was against the Houston Rockets, who at the time they were like on an 8-game winning streak.
Yeah, I remember that.
Make themselves somewhat relevant for a play-in tournament spot. And yeah, and the other 2 losses, of course, the Milwaukee Bucks, the defending champions, a team that took them out of the playoffs last year, and the Chicago Bulls. But of course, those were in
the team who might take them out of the playoffs this year.
Of course, that's literally the first month. I mean, if they were the ones to have the championship run in 2021, we would have had a whole different conversation, as we mentioned off the air on the phone. But you know what? It's a long season. The Nets, they're not just, when they're facing elite teams, they're not really losing them. They're learning how to win against these teams in a certain way.
They're getting blown out. They're getting blown out against the elite teams, though. It's not like they're losing close games. Like, Golden State literally ran them off their court. Milwaukee literally ran them off their court. Philadelphia, while they didn't run them off the court, they closed the game strong and asserted their strengths against Brooklyn's weaknesses. Brooklyn's weakness, obviously, is that perimeter defense is non-existent. James Harden's a horrendous defender. He's actually regressed as a defender. He had picked up his defensive intensity a couple of years, his last few years in Houston, but he's been really awful here in Brooklyn. Their best perimeter defenders are probably DeAndre Bembry, Bruce Brown, and I would guess Javon Carter. Carter's undersized and not a great shooter. Bruce Brown is really good, so they keep him in rotation. DeAndre Bembry is not bad at all, but they also have to play their scorers, which would be Patty Mills James Harden, Kevin Durant. So you kind of run into a problem like, how do we balance our offense with our defense when our best players aren't particularly great defenders, mainly James Harden and Kyrie Irving when he comes back. So they've got a lot to do in terms of coaching and front office moves, but we'll see what 2022 holds in store for the Brooklyn Nets.
I was thinking the exact same thing. Now, sticking on the subject of 2022, what is your most favorite sports stories we've seen in the NFL during 2022 year?
2021 year. Favorite sports stories in football. I can say my least favorite was my Chiefs losing to the Buccaneers. That was definitely my least.
It's not
favorite.
like you were going up against Tom Brady, so it's like if we talk about how Tom Brady is one of the greatest of all time, even though you lost to my Giants twice, but now that we're 10 years,
he's the greatest football player.
We have to respect Tom Brady's greatness. I mean, at the very least, the Kansas City Chiefs were able to win the Super Bowl the year before that, and they got to a rough start this year, but they got together and they're one of the top teams in the AFC, as we expected.
Definitely, always good to see Kansas City achieving success. I would say one of the best stories in football this year, I think, is Dak Prescott. I think for a long time, he was kind of looked at as a really good quarterback, one of the better quarterbacks. But I think a lot of times the media and fans held off from calling him an elite quarterback. I think in his absence the last year or so and him coming back and him just showing how good he is and his success is based on his hard work. He doesn't have the natural talents that a Patrick Mahomes has, or a Aaron Rodgers has. A lot of what he does is repetition, hard work that he's put in, since he's been in the league. So it's been great to see Dak back. I'm not a Cowboys fan. I never will be a Cowboys fan. But at the same time, I love football and I always will respect players who put in that time. And, good stories are good stories. And I think Dak Prescott's been a good story.
And it's because of Dak Prescott, the Cowboys are first in the league in offensive scoring and third best in the league in passing yards. So it's like, Stephen A. Smith want to bust the Cowboys fans' chops or always be the obnoxious fan base that they've been for years. But part of me, this is one of those times why it's hard to follow the Cowboys slowly now, because I want to see if this guy's theory is going to become true and if they're going to tumble under pressure when it matters the most. The Cowboys have had playoff years, but they just haven't been able to get no further than the divisional round.
Yeah, they always seem to lose in like some wonky fashion. I'm obviously never going to cheer for them. I have other teams and players who I put above them. But, again, if Dak can make a great run out of this, I'm all for that narrative and that story because he's been a really great player.
Yeah, but if you ask me, one of the top stories, the New England Patriots resurgence. At this time, it's not led by Tom Brady, Mac Jones. Like, at the beginning of the year, when they let Cam Newton go, we didn't really think the Patriots were ever going to be relevant again. But this guy, Mac Jones, well, up until a loss against Buffalo last week, and then, and the Indianapolis Colts. But this New England Patriots team, they developed right off the gates.
Yeah, I think Bill Belichick's coaching is really at the forefront, and you're seeing just how great of a coach he is. Mac Jones has been good. I'm not taking anything away from him, but you're seeing the genius of Belichick putting him in a position to win. I thought at the start of the season they made the right choice. Cam Newton had been struggling the last time we saw him playing for the Patriots, and it made sense to kind of go with the young guy to see what he could potentially bring, and if he can be a franchise quarterback, which he's kind of proven that he could be. So it's good that they're playing well. I'm also not a Patriots fan, but at the same time, always for a good story, a good narrative, and the Patriots have been a good narrative.
Yeah, really. The Patriots have been narrative for years, especially during Tom Brady's era. But right now, sticking with the Mac Jones era, I know it's probably not one of the two teams we don't really like to talk about as Giants fans, but since the Giants have kind of been mediocre and the Jets have been horrific, what can you do?
So let me ask you, what do you think that the Giants should do with Daniel Jones? Like he's gotten time. He's not really proven much.
Well, part of it is because he hasn't played an entire season. They did almost make it to the playoffs in the NFC East last year, but this year, it's all. In my opinion, the Giants are literally a full healthy season away from being a playoff team again. Saquon Barkley has missed this entire season or parts of the season when he's injured. Daniel Jones is done for the year. At least the wide
But do you
receiver
see
front,
anything in? Go ahead. I'm
at
sorry.
least the wide receiver front, the Giants are set with that because they got some good receivers that are capable of catching the football and running it down for the touchdown in deep passes.
But do you see enough from Daniel Jones to make you think like he's your franchise quarterback? Because I granted, I know he's been injured. I'm not taking that away from him. At the end of the day, you can only do what you can when you're healthy, and he hasn't been healthy. But I feel like in the times that I've seen him play, I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing, that stamp that's like, this is the guy, this is our guy. No prospect would outshine him. I think if a prospect comes along who looks more appealing, you kind of roll the dice and see which one, shines between the two of them.
Yeah, I think that Daniel Jones is going to be a franchise quarterback for the Giants at least one more season, only because of what I just mentioned earlier about having better durability and maintaining your health throughout the entire season. Because how you think that the quarterbacks that we saw in the NFL today have been so good for so long these past few years? They maintained the durability and they always stayed healthy.
Right, but I what I'm saying is I think even when he's healthy and I see him play, I'm not seeing the signs of a great quarterback. I'm seeing a guy who can play. He's good. Well, I'm not even sure he's good. He's okay, but he hasn't shown me any flashes of greatness. He hasn't put together 3 or 4 games in a row where I'm like, okay, yeah, that guy is definitely the franchise. Just haven't seen it.
Yeah, but you just haven't seen it. It's going to take some time, but speaking of taking some time, do you see the New York Giants or the New York Jets making it to the postseason at least as a lower wildcard team next year?
No. Obviously the Giants have a better chance. The Jets have no chance at all unless the entire AFC East starts racking up some serious injuries and stuff like that. The Jets are absolutely horrendous. They don't have talent, so they can't make the playoffs.
Well, forget not having talent. They don't even have a quarterback. Zach Wilson, he's all right at best.
Zach Wilson, much like Sam Darnold, I can't tell you if he's good or bad because I can't tell you who he throws the ball to. I can't tell you who's standing in front of him on the line. I can't tell you who he hands up like that. The Jets roster from offense to defense and special teams has been so bad for the past 3 years. They don't have talent. They're not good. The players on their team are not good. They're the worst players in the NFL.
Tell me about it. 6 wins within a span of 2 seasons. They didn't get their first win up until they defeated the Los Angeles Rams. Of course, they probably were supposed to lose that game as well as the Cleveland Browns game as well, just to get Trevor Lawrence. But we managed to settle with Zach Wilson. At the very least, last week we proved that Zach Wilson is a much better quarterback in Trevor Lawrence in head-to-head matchup. But it's just a matter of how they're going to develop from the season going forward. Because remember, we're talking about the top 2 tier rookie backs aren't really expected to be anybody. They couldn't really be anybody, but yet they managed to figure out ways to defeat the Tennessee Titans and the Cincinnati Bengals earlier this year. And those are 2 top tier playoff teams.
Right.
So
the Jets are terrible.
Yeah, they really are. If anything, the ways they did get, they've been more lucky than good. Of course, they're barely good enough to beat the Houston Texans and Jacksonville Jaguars, and they're not even good enough to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Heck, they haven't been good enough to beat the Philadelphia Eagles throughout the entire NFL franchise itself. So
that's true.
This is pretty much it from here. Well, when we transition to 2022, what do you like to see happen in 2022, starting with the NBA?
What I would like to see happen? I would like to see Klay Thompson come back healthy. I would like to see the Lakers make some moves because their team is horrendous. I'd like to see John Wall get a gig, like someone make a trade for that kid. Let him play. I'd like to see Ben Simmons get traded. I'd like to see Damian Lillard get traded to a better situation. I would love for the Knicks to upgrade their point guard position. They don't have a real ball handler and distributor. Maybe that's where John Wall comes in or Ben Simmons comes into play. Would love to see the Nets, get their act together defensively and make a nice run to the NBA Finals. Yeah, I think the NBA has been on a good trajectory so far. It's been great to see Steph back at the top of his game, breaking records. And it's going to be even better for that team when Klay Thompson comes back. And it'd be crazy to see them, make another run at the finals and potentially win a championship.
Yeah, that's also true. I mean, watching the Golden State Warriors win another championship under Stephen Curry, it would be something to observe. And I would also like to see LeBron win at least one or two more playoff series before he has to leave the Lakers, because to possibly make a return to the Cleveland for a third coming to end his career off. Even
Well, you do that.
Possible because he has so many all-stars on the roster. It's a glorified all-star team in the NBA. I mean,
Who?
I'm talking about the Lakers. It's literally a glorified all-star team. I mean, they tried that with Kobe Bryant in 2013, and that ended up being a major bust. So I don't get why they're going for it again.
Yeah, the Lakers organization completely failed their fan base and LeBron as their franchise player. You look at a team, I've never seen a team before who's had so many returning players for their second and third stint with the team. You know, I think you and I mentioned this offline, like Dwight Howard's now playing his third time with the Lakers. Avery Bradley, I believe it's his second time. They just traded Rajon Rondo today. This would have been his second time. Wayne Ellington, I believe this is his second time. You know, Isaiah Thomas, they signed for a 10-day contract. This is his second time. That's a sign of a team and a franchise that's not scouting the league properly to find the proper parts. You're supposed to look around the league and see who's available in terms of free agency, in terms of the G League, in terms of trades, and bring in new parts, not just say, hey, this guy used to play for us. Let's bring him back because I know who he is. I never thought that was going to work. I didn't think the Russell Westbrook trade was a particularly good one. He hasn't been as bad as people have made it seem, but he's also not been good either. So he hasn't helped the situation as well. But yeah, hopefully they start making some moves and they right the course. And maybe Anthony Davis decides he wants to be a great player again, but he's totally given up on that.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers, they're not that far from getting to the top five of the Western Conference, but they might have to face Memphis. And as you can see, they're not even good enough to beat the Memphis Grizzlies. So being good enough to beat the Phoenix Suns and the Warriors is definitely out of the question as well. Because,
yeah,
I mean, of course, LeBron's an older player. He just turned 37 earlier this week. And the fact that he continues to play so well up until 37 is just incredible.
Yeah, LeBron's he's an all-timer, man. He's an all-time great player.
Yeah, of course. If I was a LeBron James, I mean, the only thing what do you think's gonna happen first? Him surpassing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the most total points in the NBA, or winning his 5th championship before his career? I don't
think either one of those things will be accomplished.
You got interesting.
If you say which one's more likely, it's more likely that he wins a championship than he catches Kareem, because is he second or third right now? He's third, isn't he?
Yeah, he's third. He just passed 6,000 points. He only needs to pass
Carmelo,
and so you're talking about so you probably just go 4,000 more points within the span of 2 seasons in order to get that record.
Yeah, it's possible, but we'll see.
But that's only if LeBron James actually plays up until that year. I mean, He's almost as old as Kobe Bryant was when he retired. May he rest his soul. And tomorrow is about to be the 2-year anniversary of him and David Stern's passing. But that's a topic for another episode.
I thought Kobe passed away in January.
Yeah. Tomorrow's going to be in January.
No, when I say that, I mean January 1st. That's not the day he passed away.
Yeah, it was January 24th. I mean, David Stern died on January 1st, which is tomorrow.
David Stern. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay.
Gotcha. Now, but anyways, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you've done during 2021 that you enjoyed doing the most?
2021. It's been an interesting year. As you know, I'm in school studying film production and screenwriting. So this year I wrote my first couple of screenplays, and that was fun. I think that's the highlight. It's been amazing to learn about that craft. And, we see movies in the final production and how they are once they're completed and everything's been put together. It's been great to be part of the process of building a story from the ground up, from the standpoint of coming up with an idea and brainstorming it and outlining it, and then turning that into a screenplay /script. That's been a lot of fun. I think that's been my highlight this year. Also, I did a little bit of traveling, that was fun as well.
Well, it's a good thing that you have something to keep you busy, and I can't wait to see what type of content you put together when you get out of college and finish that degree. Because,
I might put it out before then. Fingers crossed.
Well, for me, my highlight, obviously going to my first WNBA game game, or first two WNBA games, technically. I mean, I went to one as a fan against Savannah Dream. Of course, we lost in the buzzer in overtime. Courtesy of a Courtney Williams game with a shot. When I went there, I managed to run to a couple of media talents that I've had on the show in the past. I managed to actually cover my first WNBA game in person in the month of August when it got smoked by the Seattle Storm, but that's how it is. I mean, I also managed to go to Game 5 with the Celtics and the Nets. I mean, me and Maul, we both went to Game 5. Of course, we didn't really know we were both there up until you told me, and Maul told me as well.
Yeah, thanks for the invite, guys.
We didn't know. I didn't know he was going to be there, so. But
Yeah,
don't worry.
sorry.
It's at the very least, it's nice that me and Maul attended a basketball game together. So it's not like it's if we didn't miss anything. And not to mention, it was my first basketball games I've attended during this health crisis after literally being at home for almost a year and a half. But with 2022 coming up, I mean, we already got new elected mayor and Eric Adams.
Wait. How could you not mention your greatest accomplishment, man? You interviewed Kevin Durant.
Oh yeah, Let me just show this off to you. You know what? Let me just show this off to you since you mentioned that.
Please flex.
This is Rafique with Nothing But That Sports Talk. Congratulations on the win. Unfortunately, the team did get off to a tough start when you were trailed by as many as 11. What did you guys have to do in order to actually turn the tide and get you to that 29 points that you always have in each and every game throughout your career, whether it's the NBA or in college or in international play?
We just had to slow down a bit and get into our stuff. I think defensively we ramped it up. We ramped up the intensity and was able to get some stops, and that put us at ease a bit. On the offensive end, we moved the ball and took the shots that we normally take, and they happened to go in the second half. So we knew it was a game of runs, and they made a few and we made a few, and we was able to withstand their punch and keep it going.
This is Rafique with Nothing But That Sports Talk. I just want to ask you, what are some of the stuff that you guys worked on in practice as far as late game executions and preventing teams from hanging around?
I mean, we focused on us in practice, ran through our offensive sets. That's one thing we've been doing a lot in practice, working on our sets and working on play calls that we want out there. Getting our rhythm, shooting the basketball, individual guys getting their individual work in, and going over scouting, stuff like that. But I don't sense panic amongst our coaching staff. So looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, the fact that I got to interview Kevin Durant during this calendar year in 2002, in the middle of a Tokyo Olympics, virtually overnight, by the way, was something incredible.
And that was more than incredible. I'm super proud of you. I told everybody I knew. I was like, yo, my cousin Raph interviewed the great Kevin Durant, all-time great player, future Hall of Famer. That's amazing, man. Congratulations.
And Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, Devin Booker, Bam Adebayo.
Did you get to interview Dame Time?
Yes, Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I remember that. Yeah.
I mean, come on. Of course, I can't leave that out. I was going to mention that later in the episode, but since you brought that to my attention.
Yeah. I had to bring it to everyone's attention.
Yeah, not to mention the hundreds of WNBA athletes I've interviewed, especially during the All-Star game of WNBA Finals. I've had an interview with Diana Taurasi that got showcased on SportsCenter. Of course, they only showed it twice. It's a good thing I managed to catch a recording of it from my phone because that was just incredible.
Yeah, that was another one.
Diana Taurasi got showcased on SportsCenter.
Good job, man.
And it's also a good job that I got to do this podcast the entire year. I mean, I waited an entire year without doing interviews in person. That's another thing I look forward to in 2022, that we can go back to doing interviews in person after being home all this time. Well, when I mean being home, I mean not really, because we've had times when we went outside. I mean, you mentioned what you do. I mentioned what I do. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we did during this calendar year 2022. And I'm happy to share it with my cousin, one of the two guys
likewise
that came on my show when I first started this.
I'm a longtime fan. Long-time fan, a long-time guest. You know, I've been here from the start. I help lay the foundation.
Yeah, but that concludes this episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk for the final episode being posted or at least recorded in 2021. Thank you for stopping by, Knox, and look forward to some more excitement of sports coverage that I do in Nothing But That Sports Talk. Get your head in the game, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.